At 99 years old, he is still dancing. Not in memory, not in archival footage, but alive, moving, and radiating warmth. A world that has moved past the people who shaped him, that buried much of the era he perfected, often forgets him, yet he persists. Entering a room, he changes it simply by being there. Behind the familiar smile that brought comfort to millions lies a man whose private life has been far more complex, full of challenges, struggles, and quiet battles that shaped who he truly is. Childhood in Missouri. Dick Van Dyke was born on December 13, 1925, in West Plains, Missouri, a small town with little to ignite a young boy's imagination. Life was steady but emotionally sparse, with a father often absent and a mother quietly holding the household together. Alongside his younger brother Jerry, Dick grew up in a home that functioned well but lacked warmth and sustained affection. There were no dramatic moments of cruelty, only a pervasive, quiet distance. Yet even in this environment, a young boy discovered the power of performance, a way to be seen, to exist fully, and to transform invisible emotions into laughter. The spark of performance. Performance became Dick's lifeline. Early on, he understood that humor could bridge the gap between isolation and connection. Mimicking voices, perfecting gestures, and studying the timing of comedy legends like Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, he approached performance with precision. For him, comedy was not frivolous. It was architecture. Each joke, each pause, each stumble was carefully constructed to sustain the illusion of joy and, in the process, ensure he was noticed. Long before the world recognized him, Dick learned that the stage was a place where he could exist fully, where the silence of his childhood could finally be interrupted with laughter. A wartime reality. In 1944, at 18, Dick was drafted into the United States Army Air Forces. His dream of becoming a pilot was thwarted by physical requirements, yet he found another role, entertaining troops as a radio operator and staff sergeant. While some might have seen it as a consolation assignment, Dick recognized its significance. Bringing laughter to those in fear and uncertainty was no minor achievement. It was a vital service. His wartime experiences taught him that performance was not just a craft, but a lifeline, a way to bring oxygen and hope into rooms filled with tension and dread, a lesson that would define his career. Early career struggles. Returning home in 1946, Dick faced the entertainment world with no money, no contacts, and no formal training. Rejection was constant. Radio gigs in Atlanta ended abruptly. His comedy duo, the Merry Mutes, played small clubs and military bases to mixed audiences. Each town offered a promise that never materialized. Cities like New Orleans and Los Angeles became transient homes. Yet, despite repeated setbacks, he never stopped performing. Every no became fuel for persistence. Every indifferent audience was a challenge to refine his craft. Dick's early career was not a story of instant success, but of relentless commitment to mastering an art that would later bring joy to millions. Crafting laughter, Dick approached comedy as a craft, studying timing, physicality, and the spaces between words. He observed the masters meticulously, understanding that humor required precision and patience. This dedication set him apart, enabling him to turn performance into both a science and an art. Yet this craft was never purely professional. It was personal. Laughter became a way to exist in a world that had not always been emotionally available. Each well-timed gesture or mimicry was more than entertainment. It was survival, a way to transform invisibility into recognition. Comedy became both his refuge and his declaration of self. Personal battles. Behind the smiles, Dick faced profound personal struggles. Addiction once consumed him, threatening everything he had built professionally. Relationships faltered, including a marriage that lasted 36 years. Recovery was painful and non-linear, requiring him to rebuild trust and a sense of self. He later reflected that alcohol had never been the problem. It was the symptom of unasked questions and unmet needs. Facing those challenges forced him to confront vulnerabilities that comedy had previously masked. In doing so, he learned that joy could be created, but only when one had reconciled with the shadows of life. Rebuilding at any age. Even in his later years, Dick exemplified resilience. Recovery was not simply abstaining from old habits, it was rebuilding an entire life. At 86, he discovered a long-missing fulfillment, a personal connection that had eluded him for decades. His journey demonstrated that reinvention is never bound by age. Life's setbacks, failures, and heartbreaks can be endured, rebuilt from the ground up, and even enhanced by perspective. The courage to continue, to create, and to perform, despite personal loss, became a defining feature of his legacy, showing that mastery of life and art often requires patience, persistence, and relentless optimism. Legacy of Joy Dyke's career became a beacon of joy, not because it was effortless, but because it was deliberately cultivated. Whether on stage, television, or film, he committed daily to creating moments of warmth, laughter, and connection. Joy was not a reward for success, but a practice of presence, discipline, and empathy. Audiences may have seen a flawless entertainer, but the truth lay in the constant effort behind the scenes. Each performance, each smile, each laugh was a conscious choice to confront life's hardships and transform them into something that could be shared, appreciated, and remembered. The man behind the smile. Public perception often simplifies a life to familiar images: the laughter, the charm, the iconic roles. Yet the reality is richer, more textured, and sometimes painful. Dick Van Dyke's journey shows that the man we see is only part of the story. The private life filled with struggle, reflection, and growth is what shaped the brilliance visible on stage. The smile that brought comfort to millions was forged through experience, resilience, and understanding. This duality, public joy, private complexity, is the essence of his life, revealing the true cost and triumph of performing for the world while living authentically in private. Lessons from a lifetime. At 99, Dick continues to embody the principle that joy is a practice, not a prize. His life demonstrates the power of perseverance, the importance of self-recognition, and the enduring impact of sharing happiness with others. Success is not simply achieved, but crafted daily through dedication, patience, and courage. Even when the world overlooked him, he remained committed to his art. Even when personal trials threatened to dismantle him, he rebuilt. His story is an invitation to approach life as he did, with curiosity, creativity, and relentless optimism, finding ways to light up rooms long after others might have stopped trying. Enduring brilliance. Dick Van Dyke's life is a testament to the power of resilience, craft, and joy. At an age when most would rest, he continues to dance, perform, and inspire. Every movement, every smile, and every laugh carries the weight of experience, hard-won lessons, and a lifetime of dedication. The man behind the public persona is one of perseverance, reflection, and reinvention. And perhaps the most remarkable part of his story is this: that even after nearly a century of life's trials, he still chooses to step into the light, to perform, to exist fully, and to share that joy with anyone willing to watch.